Mr Chairman, Mighty River Power is the next of the companies that the government proposes to privatise half of. I want to respond to some of the issues that the Minister... that the Minister made comments. He said that we have to do this in order for the government to be able to afford to build roads, hospitals and schools. Well, there's a little lesson in history for Mr Ryle here. Governments have to do that every year. They've done that every year since New Zealand was settled. Every year, and in fact we did that when we were in government. We did that and we bought back Air New Zealand. We did not sell it. We didn't run the books of this country so poorly that we had New Zealand in the position that we had to sell the family silver. Make no mistake, selling the family silver is what the government's about. They're selling assets that are currently owned by all New Zealanders to the very, very small subset of New Zealand that this government so plainly governs for. It's not for the majority, it's for the small minority who this government has profited handsomely. 42% of their income tax cuts went to the top 10%, and they're the people who will be buying shares initially. Then they'll take a profit as they sell them, as occurred in Contact Energy, and eventually most of those shares end up in overseas ownership. And indeed, the Treasury were express in their advice to this Parliament that came out with the budget documents, and they said for the government to achieve its objectives, and I'm essentially quoting what they said, significant proportions of overseas ownership in those electricity SOEs would have to occur. So any pretence to the contrary really is just a pretence. Mr Chairman, the profit this year of Mighty River Power was $84.6 million. In addition, they had dividends. Their dividend of $80 million was paid in the 2009-10 after a special dividend of $150 million in the 2008-2009 financial year. So, Mr Chairman, the performance of these companies, whilst managed as part of the Crown portfolio of state-owned enterprises, has been very good. It need not be better. The only way it can go materially higher is if electricity prices go up further, and as I said in an earlier contribution, there is no doubt that if these companies are sold, to be it to 49% or 50%, the price of electricity will go up. Mr Chairman, the last Speaker contribution from the Minister was to criticise us for the electricity prices that increased during our term. We did two things in response. First of all, we brought lines increases under control by regulating them, which was necessary, and the rate of increase dropped dramatically to essentially the rate of inflation. Then under our watch, the Commerce Commission tried to get a handle on whether there was overcharging in the electricity wholesale and retail markets, and that report did not come out until May 2009, after we had left office, and found an overcharge of 18% on average, totalling $4.3 billion of excessive charges to New Zealand consumers under the period in review. Mr Chairman, as a consequence, the government should have done something to bring those excessive charges under control, but no, they've washed their hands of it, and in fact, since then, electricity prices have gone up, according to the Minister today, by 14% since. They haven't decreased, they've gone up by a further 14%. Mr Chairman, if people want to keep those assets in New Zealand ownership, if they want to keep control of their power prices, if they want to keep our industries and jobs that are reliant upon large electricity prices under control, they've got a choice at the forthcoming election, because we're just not going to sell those assets. Most New Zealanders know that those assets have been built up over generations. They're well run, they're profitable. The system works better in a long, stringy country like ours if we have integration of those companies rather than competition in theory, but market gouging of consumers in practice. So, Mr Speaker, the review of Mighty River Power takes you to the same conclusion as we get from Meridian. It is a nonsense if we sell off these companies. They're well run, they're profitable at the moment. The government won't make any more money than they get out of dividends as a consequence of the sale, because their interest bill would be lower than keeping the assets and taking the dividends.
Ko Paseta Sam Lotu-Iiga.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, it's a privilege to speak on this, the financial review for Mighty River Power. And, sir, may I first start by saying what a great company this is. What a great company that Mighty River Power is, and the types of businesses that it runs throughout this country, but also around the world. Sir, part of its headquarters is in my electorate of Maunga-Kea, and the employment opportunities that it provides locally, sir, is one that certainly people of my electorate are thankful for. They run a very efficient and effective enterprise, and one that certainly is welcome if not in Mr. Parker's electorate, certainly it's welcome in my electorate. Sir, he doesn't have an electorate, of course, that's right. He lost his electorate some years ago. But, sir, this is about, the debate has turned to the mixed model ownership of our energy companies. And it must be said, Mr. Chair, that this mixed model ownership has worked in the past, and the Honourable Minister referred to the current existing state of Air New Zealand, but also there has been Telstra and numerous companies around the world that have effectively used the mixed ownership model to A, raise capital, B, provide investment opportunities for investors, both private and family investors, but also for superannuation funds. And C, sir, it's provided investment opportunities, it will provide investment opportunities for our superannuation funds, our KiwiSaver investment funds, and our capital markets, which are in dire need of expansion. The Minister also referred to how the partial sale of these companies would result in assets being purchased, other infrastructure assets. And currently, as we all know from Budget 2011, that there is a $16.7 billion deficit for this financial year. And one of the ways of addressing this, sir, is that we have an infrastructure and an investment strategy that requires funding. And we don't want to go to Japanese financial institutions or Chinese lenders for that capital. It is available in this country through the mixed ownership model, and it will provide, sir, the roads, the schools, broadband investment that we spoke about earlier this afternoon, but also it's about providing for those high priority infrastructure projects that this country needs in order to lift our economic growth and lift productivity for our businesses across this country. What having private investment will also do, sir, is that it brings with it financial discipline. It brings with it the discipline of being on a financial market where analysts and equities specialists certainly can break down a company's assets and liabilities, can break down the balance sheet and its profitability, but also break down its long-term sustainability as an enterprise. And, sir, that is certainly one of the advantages of having this ownership model. Mr. Parker, in his previous speech, referred to the fact that such companies maximise prices and minimise costs, and that the two were actually interchangeable. But I actually beg to differ, because minimising costs and effectively running corporations or businesses effectively is a far cry from maximising prices. They are two distinct things. And he also failed to mention that the other way of increasing an organisation's capability is to increase volume. And that's exactly what Mighty River Power are doing. That's exactly what they're doing. They're investing overseas. And we heard from Doug Heffernan in his testimony, we heard that they committed $250 million for investment in geothermal developments overseas. And they are in partnership with overseas organisations like GeoGlobal Energy. And these organisations are stable, they are market leaders, and in conjunction and in collaboration with Mighty River Power, they are leading the world in technology in the geothermal area. So, sir, mixed model ownership would allow
Any further speakers? The question is that the report of the Commerce Committee on the 2009-10 financial review of Mighty River Power Limited be noted. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The next entity I understand members wish to debate is the New Zealand Railways Corporation. The question is that the report of the Transport and Industrial Relations Committee on the 2009-10 financial review of the New Zealand Railways Corporation be noted.
Mr.
Call
Chair.
Claire Curran.